6:41, and we are now in open session. Thank you, John, for being here. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the August 28, 2021 executive and regular sessions. Anybody have any questions or?
I have one minor correction.
Okay.
On the executive session minutes, Powers is plural, S at the end of his name, not Power.
Oh, okay. It's
Minor.
Powers, Carol.
Oh, okay, that's executive?
Executive session, towards the bottom, second to last.
Oh, in the,
His name's on
okay.
there twice.
yes, spell check, didn't help me there, thank you.
Didn't want anybody in the future to think it was some other guy.
Oh, there's a one and only, yeah, okay. Old business.
Here we go again.
Review and priority, oh, we need a
We need to vote, yeah.
Okay. All in favor of approving the executive session?
Madam Chairman, don't we need a motion to approve?
To approve it.
Okay,
So I'll move to
As
approve the
amended.
minutes of the August 20th, 2021 executive and regular sessions.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous, Carol. Okay, here we go with the owners unknown properties. I think everybody got copies of the list. I know in the past, we did have a list of properties and we did prioritize them, but that was several years ago. And I thought just looking at this new list, maybe we could come up with, maybe still some of the ones from before. Maybe we want to add some that are new on this list that weren't here before. Dave, I'm kind of relying on you because some of these, even though I looked at the map and know where they're located, I'm not familiar with the land itself, you know, so, and I know you know.
Well, I don't have the printout, and if I remember correctly, this was the list from tax liens. Is this the tax liens list or the owners unknown list? They don't appear, the owners unknown stuff doesn't all appear
Well,
on the.
there were tabs
There are
on the
tabs on the
bottom.
bottom.
Yeah,
This is the owner's unknown, if you wanna.
There were, she broke it down, there was tabs on the bottom for owners unknown, tax lien, total
No,
list.
these are taxed. These are owners unknown taxed. There's two different types of owners unknown. There are parcels that are tagged as owners unknown. The property boundaries are known, and taxes are accruing. Because there's nobody unknown, nobody's getting tax bills for them, but it makes them accessible. It's like the Judah Eldridge, where, you know, the things hadn't been taxed in 50 years, or hadn't received payments, let's say in 50 years, because there were so many owners, they didn't know which one of them they should send the bill to. And as a result, it accrued a great big
Yeah,
back dune. And that's what's there. The other types of properties are like the sand pit on JZ Drive, which is an owner's unknown, is not taxed at all. So this is only a very small portion of that.
So just,
Because that's all the records she would have are the ones that are being taxed.
so what about these ones that are considered miscellaneous parcels?
Miscellaneous parcels are, several of them in the Copeless category. And you mentioned the ones around the bogs and so forth. There is a deed that he has ownership to some land. For example, one of them says on the east side of Aunt Edie's Pond.
okay.
It's part of a bog. It has descriptions in the bog. But nobody's ever laid out the boundaries of that in a plan.
Okay.
So, and so its exact location is not known. And if you look at these maps up here, you would find that, let me zoom in on this section up here. Okay, so one of those, and there's actually two of the blocks. There's one that's right here. Let's see, is it showing up? You can't see my cursor real well. It's this dark purple up there. It's right over here at Annie's, and there's another one up here on the north side of Annie's Pond. But they don't have descriptions that allow them to say, is it 1 acre or is there
Right.
50?
Right.
Those end up in miscellaneous, and they get taxed at 1 acre by default.
Um,
So that's what you're seeing as a miscellaneous category.
So,
So if, the Copeless deal would include these other parcels. If you look at this whole parcel right here, all of this pink that's owners unknown is stuff that is not specifically being taxed, okay? Whoops. And you find out that this thing is 76 acres up in there. Some of it is in fact being taxed, but we don't know its exact location. So it couldn't be identified on a map. And Copeless owns three of those parcels, but it's 3 acres out of 76. And you know, when Mike and I have discussed this before in terms of, you know, if you're going after owners unknown property, that, you know, this includes the pit, which is down here. I'm gonna close this. The sand pit is right down in here. I have reason to believe that I know who owns some of this property down in here, but he's not telling anybody because he doesn't want to pay taxes on it. So some of that would have to be, you know, would get back on the tax rolls if they tried to take it by eminent domain. But the only way to really clear up all this stuff is eminent domain by the town.
so the only way to, I didn't hear that last, the only way to clear up all this is how?
Eminent domain.
Oh. But are you saying that owners unknown and untaxed isn't on any of these reports we're seeing?
Oh, well, as I say, there's two different types of owners unknown.
Right,
There's owners unknown that are on the tax rolls and being taxed and are therefore probably on the tax lien list.
right.
And there's some of that which was down on, some of these things down, not there, where was it? It's down along Old Chatham Road. So there's parcels
Right.
down in here that meet that category.
Right.
And Dan Pelletier was interested in some of those.
Right.
And I know he's already contacted Amy about doing something about that. There's also errors, by the way, in the assessor's information, because there's one of these parcels, I think I fixed this parcel here, says owners, is owners unknown. It says it's not being taxed, but in fact, Copeless claims it's one of his. And he's got plans to show that he does. So, and that's really what the assessor's looking for is, you know, before they tax a piece of property, is they want a plan. Where's it, specifically, is this parcel located? What's its shape and size? And they rely upon anybody who's gonna use that land to have those plans.
And supported by deeds.
And
So you
supported
can't
by
just put a
deeds and
plan
so
on
on
it.
and so
It needs to be
forth.
supported by
And,
deeds.
you know, we talked for a long time about the Little Shaver Lane property.
Yeah, well, that's.
And
one
somebody
of the
tried
ones I
to
had in
sell a
mind.
couple of lots in there.
Right.
But when we realized it was, the town was actually did test pits in there. And I went nuts. I said, wait a second. How do we know that they even own this? And it's a big, long story. That's a whole other thing we could talk about, John. That needs to get resolved in administration. But, and they had signs out there and tried to sell it. But they couldn't really do anything because the town would not give them a map and parcel number because the documentation they provided was weak.
So Dave, is that property still available then in terms of, in its entirety, as an owner's unknown?
If the town wanted to take it by eminent domain, yes.
So
Would you-
that should be a priority then, correct? I mean, is this meeting to discuss
Yeah, this-
like priorities?
Yes,
Okay.
this meeting is to, now, I have a priority list that we
So
did.
I'm still not clear on the question. So if it's a owner's unknown and it's untaxed at this point, is it not on any of these maps?
We're talking about
I
Little
mean,
Shaver
not on
Lane?
any, huh?
Little Shaver Lane property? We were just,
No, I'm saying owners unknown and untaxed. It won't be on any of our reports here, right?
it will not be on any of your reports,
That's
is
what
correct.
I was questioning. Thank you.
All right,
So-
here's the old list I had. It was a priority list. We had number 1 was Little Shaver. Number 2 was Woodland Road.
Can I
Sure.
use the map here, because I'm not sure everybody knows where,
Yeah, it'd be helpful to, yes.
where each of these parcels are located. Whoops, let's see, where's Route 39?
The Little Shaver, I believe, it's off Chatham Road, right?
No, Little Shaver's
No,
off of 39.
no, it's off Route
Oh,
39.
I'm sorry.
It's this
39.
parcel right here. Totally untaxed. And it is 35 acres, I think. 30 acres.
30 acres.
And that's this parcel. This is 39 right here. This is the water tower. This is water department
Water
land
department.
down here. This is Thompson's Field,
Yeah.
going down this way.
Oh,
Town wells are located in here, and I think they're all around in this area, which is why Dan was looking to pick up these couple of parcels down here.
So it's the purple pop.
The purple, yeah.
Parcel that's
Yeah.
directly abuts Thompson's Field.
Yep,
Yep,
Okay,
okay.
this was the original, when we presented this to the Board of Selectmen
years ago.
years ago. Okay, so Little Shaver is still,
That's up to the whole committee. For me,
All right,
it's
but-
still number one, it's still
okay,
number one. Mark.
Marcia,
I
you
agree.
agree with that?
Yeah.
Anyone disagree with that being a number 1? James?
Maybe this is because I'm new on the committee, but can you tell me what was used to evaluate all the properties in order to set the priorities? And how can we take a list that is multiple pages long and sort of assess that criteria with regard to each individual property in order to develop a priority list?
Well, I printed out the owners unknown tab from that
Okay.
list. I then checked the maps to see exactly where they were located and what was around them. And then, of course, relying at this point on Dave to tell me whether, I mean, some of them are landlocked little pieces that, wouldn't be of need for anything. But that's what I did. I went through, just looked to see where they were.
But what criteria did you use to assign the priorities? Did
Well, I
you-
haven't assigned priority yet.
Okay,
That's
because,
what we're doing now.
I mean, I think we have different potential uses, and depending on where properties are located, the size of the property, the
Right.
characteristics of the property,
There was,
whether there are wetlands on the property, there can be various different potential uses for different pieces of property throughout the town. And in order to set the priorities, I think we need to first establish criteria
Okay.
as to what we're going to prioritize. And then, do we need to review, all the owners unknown, we probably need to review all the owners unknown property in order to, establish that priority list. Now, as you mentioned, Elaine, some of the pieces of property may be so small or landlocked or
That they're
whatever
not.
that we just, they're not going to be useful for anything.
Well,
But,
on the
and
Little
those can be
Shave-
eliminated.
On Little Shaver, we did. And the
Okay.
recommendation was to actively pursue deed and title research, clarify ownership if possible, and pursue acquisition by either the water department or by the town to be then moved into the care and custody of the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
That was the determination for
Okay,
Little
but-
Shaver.
what made it a priority? Was it a key piece of property for conservation because of the proximity to, the source of water,
I think it was
what-
because of the
what-
water
what was
department.
the
Dave, am
priority
I right
system?
on that?
Kathy.
Kathy's
Okay,
got it.
Kathy.
No, I just want to
Okay.
say that, I've been on this committee since 2011 or 12. Margaret, you were on it way before me. At one point, 7 or 8 years ago, we rediscussed sort of not the mission, but, what our priorities were. And water resource protection and water quality protection were the number one you know, the top goals.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of these were looked at with that in mind. Okay, how close they were in a zone 2 area, how close to the wellheads they were, et cetera, et cetera. This is a little shaver, I would say, is in, you know, the top, you know, 5 parcels, given its size, its proximity to, you know, the water department land, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's why that ended up atop the list.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. I haven't been on the meeting.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Elaine, it seems to me like you guys just went through the exercise of redoing the rating sheet that we use for potential acquisitions. And it seems to me that that's the same thing that could be used for this, that you're basically trying to evaluate how important is this, and you've got the criteria right there, and water resources protection is one, the size of the parcel is another, the threat of development, I mean,
Yeah.
I forget what they all are. but-
Connectivity to
Yeah.
other wildlife corridors and
Exactly.
habitat protection, of course.
Yeah,
Okay, but my concern is all that criteria is related to conservation. The town also has priorities for affordable housing, has, you know,
Oh, no, that's, yeah.
priorities for use of town land, whether it's for recreational purposes, for purposes of the water department, maybe the fire department needs additional property, maybe the police department. Plus, there's also a category that I think the Board of Selectmen, my understanding, are interested in, is some of the parcels that are owners unknown are really prime parcels for development of the town themselves in order to generate revenue to offset, you know, potential tax increases. So we have a whole series of competing uses. It sounds to me as if the priority systems that you've used in the past all went to solely conservation uses.
No, it
that's
didn't.
not true.
Oh, okay, well,
That's not true.
and like I said, I'm new on the committee,
No,
so. So
no,
I'm
we
just
did,
trying
we
to
did look at
understand.
everything, considering whether it was suitable for housing or recreation
Okay.
or conservation. Kathy?
Another thing we've done is periodically, every few years, we send out, you know, an email requesting all town departments and committees, et cetera, if they have any needs that we're not aware of for
Right.
particular land uses. And generally speaking, we get a 99%, you know, non-response.
Okay, so.
You know,
that
such
takes
as if,
care of that
such as if
issue.
the
Yeah.
cemetery commission was
Okay.
looking for more land for
Sure.
expansion of
Right.
cemeteries, those kind of things.
The only one that we ever really got, well, we got a couple responses, no, there's nothing that we're interested in
Yeah.
at the moment. We did get from the water department, finally, some properties that they were interested in looking for the potential maybe for a new site for a well or for water protection or whatever. So, the water department, you know, we have considered them.
We had one request from the community center because they were interested in a dilapidated house that was next to them, and they said,
Yeah.
it's owned, it's being, they're
Right,
paying
taxes
taxes.
are being
Yeah,
paid
yeah,
on it,
couldn't-
right.
couldn't take it.
It's not necessarily available.
Mabel Cantos, or, I think it was
Pardon?
Mabel Cantos Way, that dilapidated house.
Yeah,
It was Mabel Cantos.
All right, so let me just finish going through this priority list, okay? We had Little Shaver, we had Woodland Road, which is what the water department, we concurred that the water department should get the care and custody of that parcel, because they were looking for a new, adjacent to their, a wellhead that was up there, correct? Okay. The next one was Grassy Pond, which we did put in for foreclosure. And I think that process started, so Grassy Pond may no longer be on our priority list. The fourth one I had was Linway.
Linway?
Lynn, Lynn, Linway.
Is that the one off of Driftwood there?
Road, Pond, Little Shaver.
Off of Depot?
Honestly, I don't
remember.
remember Lynn,
LYN,
Lynn. Like the girl's name.
What does it say? The narrative, does it say anything?
I don't have it on here in this
Oh.
batch.
What, it's hard to work from the assessor's list because it doesn't give you any of the attributes of the properties.
Right.
And that's why all of this information is embedded in these maps,
Right.
okay?
Right.
And that's why I wanted to, you know, put this thing up. Because I've just turned off everything there, and anything that's in purple on this map, or pink, are the two different types of owners unknown. That which is being taxed, and that which is not being taxed. And the dark purple is the stuff that is not being taxed at the current time. Now, again, some of that is gonna be in the miscellaneous category. So there are parts of these that are being taxed. But we don't know that.
So, can I just go up here for
Go
a
ahead.
second? I
Oh,
just
yeah,
want-
go ahead.
Just trying to understand, so, okay. So all the purple are either unknown, owners unknown, taxed or not taxed, is what you're saying?
That's right.
Okay,
I-
so,
I'll call it pink and purple, but go ahead. 'Cause
okay.
the lighter pink
Is
is
this
being,
pink or is this white? That's pink?
I think that's the pink. So what do we get here? No, that is, okay, wait a second. Oh, no, there's, they're right, there's a third category.
Okay,
Remember, I'm joining, to get this information, I have to take the parcel data and I have to join it with the tax data
okay.
on map and parcel ID. And there are cases where, that they're not matching. That's what those are, the lighter
But
pink is.
wouldn't that make it more difficult for the town to
That,
pursue also?
that's basically a data error, a difference between what the parcels are that describe all the boundary markers in the assessor's database
Mhm.
and the assessor's database.
Okay, so can you overlay on this, like town-owned property?
Town-owned property is right here, so this is all your town-owned property.
Okay, so this is the headwaters area, right, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, this is the town, transfer station?
That's true.
Okay. Let's see. Is this the town forest?
No.
No.
That
Well, that's over
is-
there. What is this?
Where is that?
It's a golf course.
That's the golf course.
That's golf course, yes.
Okay. So, just to orient people.
I know, that's why I like the map, is because you can get oriented.
Right, right. Because sometimes a parcel is more valuable to preserve or use for other purposes if it's contiguous to other town
Definitely.
conservation
You're right,
lands, or private conservation land, or water department land, et cetera. Which is where some of our priorities came in.
Yeah, and Jim, just for your information,
Sure.
that's where, like, I can click on here, now you get to see Harwich Conservation Trust properties as well. And, you know, so you see this whole area over here, it surrounds the well, okay, this is the Muddy Creek headwaters. But that's the advantage of using the map, so
What
when I,
color is HCT?
pardon?
What color is HCT?
It's a dark green,
Dark green, okay.
okay?
Oh, I see, like this here.
Yeah, so this is the town's property, they have, and this is the dark green of the Kendrick property,
Okay,
Pleasant Bay Woodlands.
yeah,
And, you know, and Island Pond ends up being the same way, you know, there's all of this kind of stuff over here. So, Jim, when I'm utilizing this map, the whole idea is to go in and flip these things on and off, because as Kathy points out, you know, wildlife corridors, for example, between Thompson's Field and the town forest. If you look across here, there's a whole lot of property, and about the only thing that, you know, they're not fully contiguous at this point, but that might make this piece of property worthwhile, so that there would be a wildlife corridor across here to the town forest.
Dave, I
Okay.
think these maps are extremely helpful.
Right, so,
And I think it would be helpful, I mean, I think you sent this to me electronically, but it would be helpful, I think, for all of us to have this in hard copy.
And-
sort of-
and I apologize, because I promised you in June that I would talk to you, but I'll talk to you, give you the reasons why later. But yes, I'll provide that, this is public information now, because I've given it to the town. As soon as I gave it to the town, it became public information.
Sure.
It's a Google Earth KMZ file. Anybody who wants it is welcome to. I think you have it,
I
Margaret?
have it, yeah.
I haven't.
This is it, right?
That's the map.
Yeah.
I have not yet updated it for 2021. I got the data back in June, July timeframe, and as my summer has gone on, had less and less time to do anything on it. It's still on my project plan for the fall.
Dave, what are these up here, these purple ones up here? Where are those?
These purple ones, okay, so this is, that would be an owner's unknown.
Right, but where is that? I'm not sure.
Well, these are the town wells up on Pleasant Bay Road.
Okay,
So that's
So-
off of Church Street then?
is that off of Bay Road?
No, Church Street's gonna be, oh, this is Church Street here.
Okay,
So this
and
is
is
gonna
that
be
Pleasant Bay Road that they're off
west
of?
of Church Street and, I don't know, let's see if we can find a property near it and get its address.
Hall's Path.
Hall's Path, that's the
Ah.
Hall's, oh, okay, now I know, no, we're up in East Harwich. And these may have been the property that they started cutting all the trees down and the
Mm-hmm.
hit fan, so,
So as far as we know,
Again-
there's still owners unknown.
well, I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
again, this is 2020 data. I don't know what the assessor knows about that property now.
Well, Hall's Path properties are on this list. of owners.
Well, yeah, because there was a lot of owners unknown.
Yeah, there's,
I mean, and
there's
see, that
three-
is
there's
of
three on
particular-
Hall's Path.
That's of particular interest to the Board of Selectmen because it has to do a lot with wastewater and how much they can put in, et cetera, if it's developed or not developed.
And I did send this file to Mike,
Yeah, so, I
McCaskill
mean,
after the last meeting.
pursuit of that might or might not be
I don't know at
positive.
the
I'm not sure.
the current status of this, so.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very good, criteria in order to evaluate property.
Right.
Especially at this point in time with the issues that the town is facing.
Right.
And if that is high on the priority for lowering the nitrogen and therefore being able to maybe sort of adjust the wastewater plan, then that raises that as a priority for us
Right.
to take a serious look at.
Right.
So
I-
do
I-
we want to put these three, there's three parcels on Hall's Path that are on this owners unknown list. Do we want to put those three on our list?
Those parcels, they're interesting. I was looking at them this morning. In fact, they're a bunch of Hall's Path. On the second page.
There's two on the second page, yeah.
No, there's more than two. There's down at the bottom, and maybe the pagination's not the
Oh,
same.
I have it,
Um,
I'm using the other
But,
list.
there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Hall's Path properties. A couple of them are owners unknown, but some of them are known properties, and they abut. And what they abut is the old sand pit where- in East Harwich.
Yep,
And so there's a ton of stuff on the east side of Hawks Nest Road that goes down to the sand pit and then almost down to Route 39 at the Four Corners there.
That's this section right up in here, all of these reds and purples and
Yeah,
so forth.
those reds.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're listed as Hall's Path, because I guess maybe Hall's Path historically went through there.
Yes, it ended up on Queen Anne Road, a couple hundred yards east of the cemetery.
Okay.
Well,
But there's.
so-
Basically where Hawks Nest Road come up.
Okay. So there's a whole grouping of those that, there's a lot that could happen in there, I guess is the point. Both with the sand pit and with the surrounding properties. And then there's the Judah Eldridge, on the left there. That's the big brown one that's.
This is
yeah, that
Judah
one.
Eldridge. Now, I can say that There is ownership of some of these parcels is claimed by, not these, excuse me. We're going to large landholders here and pick up,
Cuddy owns a lot of it, right?
Cuddy owns a lot of it.
Yes, it's, so,
He
yeah,
claims, the brown stuff is Cuddy,
yeah,
already owns. He claims he owns some of the others.
yeah,
But he brought some stuff to Chris Clark, and Chris wanted me to review it, and I said, fine, you know, give me a copy and I'll take a look at it, and then he never sent it to me.
mm,
You know, but, so, you know, that, some of those are disputed properties, let's put it
yeah.
that way.
Well, you know, this is a huge task.
Right, I don't think we can do that in this
No, we're not gonna do
timeframe
that.
here. We
No,
need
but we
a
can-
couple meetings to really sit down and with the map and look, and everybody understand where we are, what we're looking at. And to Jim's point, you know, if our priorities have stayed the same or not.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for example, I was somewhat reassured to hear that at least
Yeah.
the chairman of the Board of Selectmen is not thinking of
Right,
Copolis as being a housing
we're
site.
in open session.
This could be a housing site.
We're in open session.
Yeah, we can't talk
Yeah,
about it.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm muffled enough that
Mhm.
no one can understand me. But, you know, in terms of trying to concentrate new development in, close to a growth center, this area could be suitable for that. So when we're thinking about potential uses for, these owners unknown or tax delinquent properties, I think location is really critical here.
Can I just make a side comment on that?
Yes, sure, Jim.
I don't know whether you were involved at all in the process that the planning board tried to undertake a number of years ago in order to sort of develop a growth center in East Harwich.
Oh, I do remember all of that, yes.
And, you know, the planning board spent 2.5 years, including some, you know, expenditure of funds on
Yeah.
consultants, in order to evaluate that, and the town basically killed it.
Well, nevertheless, there is a growth center there. I mean,
If-
as a practical matter, there
Right.
is.
I mean, what's happening is it's happening naturally
Mhm.
based on existing zoning and, you know, existing, you know, lot configuration
Right.
and what the private market is doing. So, you know, there is an issue there as to whether or not things should just continue the way they are,
Mhm.
or whether there should be some activity to sort of look at that and sort of formally establish a growth center.
And that, I assume, if they're gonna update the local comprehensive plan, that they'll go back at that question.
They
But-
probably will, but, you know, again, updating the local comprehensive plan is a process that could take a number of years.
Yeah.
And while there has been talk about doing that, you know, I've lived in town now for 8 years. There's been talk about doing that for the past 7 of those 8 years that I've lived in town. And so far, nothing has really happened.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that I think what we need to do is to have, sort of a step-by-step process to look at these things. And I mean, maybe you start with a size criterion. So that, because, I mean, when you've got dozens of properties here, you know, to do a detailed analysis for every single one of them is gonna be
Right.
just an endless process.
But
So
location would be key too, because
Yeah.
there may be a small parcel that's located right next to the wells. Its owner's unknown, it can easily be taken by eminent domain, perhaps,
Yeah.
and, you know, or whatever. So, I mean, there are criteria.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, what I see might be useful as a tool and along with, you know, to go along with Dave's maps, would be almost like a cross chart where we have various uses criteria to evaluate property, including size, location, natural characteristics, you know, whether there's wetlands on the property, you know, location to other, you know, town or.
Well, that's on
private
all those,
facilities.
that's on the forms that we
Right.
looked at.
Right.
So we
And
could,
we would need input from the conservation agent as to whether about wetlands or
True, but
habitat or.
we
or-
could get
or
a
whatever.
feel for it,
Yeah.
I think is what
Right.
we're going for, at least
Right.
to start.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
I mean,
mean,
some stuff's gonna rise to the top and some stuff's
Right.
not.
And
Exa-
some of the
exactly.
properties on this, they're bogs,
Yeah.
so they don't count. The one that I was most interested in was on Chatham Road. I know we had discussed Chatham Road before, but on this list of owners unknown, it's down, they're near Echo Woods Road,
Yeah, that's not that far from the water department
right
there.
on
Oh.
Chatham Road.
Do you know which, because there's several
Yeah.
of them.
I'm looking
Do you have a
at
parcel?
map, they're on map 34,
That's got
and,
40.
let's see, let me,
34, okay, I got map 34.
okay. So it is, E5, E3, E2, they're all,
Yes. It's all of these over, it's all of these down in this area.
and they're on the tax lien list, the only one, it's a big block, if you put all those parcels, consider them along a block. There's one lot in the middle there that's E4, which is on the tax lien list, not on the owner's unknown. So if you were to
E4, that's
include,
this long, narrow one. Yep, that's Stephen Cove. He's got a number of parcels in that area.
right,
These are
right.
the-
And
these are
he
the
is
ones that-
also
about
has
the
a
water
lot of
department?
parcels on the tax lien list.
Yeah, I know, these are all,
think
the
that
red
white
ones,
is
the
the
red
water
ones in
department.
here are Steve
We've
Cove.
discussed these for years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this one is, no, that's on the white.
So
But his- he
E5,
owns
wait a
this
minute,
parcel
E5,
and-
E5A and B. A is 7.2 acres. B is an acre, a little over an acre. E3 is 1.96 acres. E2 is 2.8 acres. And E4 is, like I said, is on the tax lien list. So if they were to acquire these lots, that's a big chunk of land right on 39, but
No,
again, I
It's
don't
not
know
on
that.
39, it's on Chatham Road.
On Chatham Road, I'm sorry.
Which,
keep
I don't
doing
know,
that
are
for
they
some
planning on
reason.
sewering it? In other words, if you were, one of their criteria, and this is what we have to evaluate, is the criteria, is it ever gonna be sewered in that area, and this would reduce the nitrogen issues that Mike's concerned
Right.
about? And if not, they're very, very narrow lots, you know, and until somebody actually consolidates all of them
Right.
together.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if they were to acquire all these
But wasn't the
lots.
priority that it was the proximity to the water department? and-
And that's the presentation I made to Dan
Right.
Pelletier
Exactly.
4
I know.
years ago, and the water commissioners. And Dan eventually decided he wanted to pick up these lots. I kept thinking that this is where the department offices are,
Yeah.
in here. And I thought there was a lot right in here, but apparently all the wells are on the other side of the
Okay.
bike
Bike
trail.
trail.
And so he was only looking to pick up the ones that are in this area, because this would be a zone of contribution to the well.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so he's
And
he's
he
saying
was
those
not
are down,
interested in
down
He
those.
gradient.
doesn't necessarily care about those other ones.
No.
So those other ones probably should not be a priority for
I
us.
see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, in terms of all the other criteria that we just talked about. I mean, we're not gonna recommend them for affordable housing with the proximity to the water department and the wells.
Well, if they're not contributing to the well,
Yeah,
if they're not contributing, because the water's flowing south
Yep, okay.
down, then they would not. They have the potential of being for housing.
Okay,
How good a potential, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, that's part of the point that I was gonna make also, Dave, that, you know, if the water department doesn't think that they're necessary for water protection, then why can't they be considered for some other potential use? And those uses could be affordable housing, you know, depending on the location and other characteristics, they could be very good development parcels that the town could sell. But I mean, those are the types of things that we have to take a closer look at. And then one other thing I saw on one of the other potential maps or, you know, another section of this map that Dave showed was that there was area that was owners unknown adjacent to the transfer facility. Well, now, when you call the head of the transfer facility, they're tied up with their day-to-day activities, and if you just send them an email, they may say, well, no, I don't need any more property now, I'm operating fine today. But if you went to talk to them and said, well, look, there's this property just adjacent to you, you know, have you thought about what you may need to expand this facility in the future? And a lot of the people that are operating departments of the town, because they're so busy with the day-to-day operations, don't have much time to sort of think about that. But I think it's, you know, sort of part of the job of this committee to start thinking in that way with regard to potential future town needs.
Well, as Kathy said before, we have in the past sent out letters to, you know, all the departments and other committees, like the golf committee and, you know, like that, recreation and all those. Those were followed up with emails if we didn't get a response, and they were followed up by actual phone calls, because I know I made calls and I know others made calls, and it just is what it is. And at the time, we had asked the DPW if they were interested in properties, and the response was no. Now, that could have changed.
Yeah.
Right.
Times have
Well,
changed.
point of fact, there are a couple parcels on the other side from the DPW that the town does own. The town has tried to sell in the past,
Right.
and town meeting turned it down. So there are parcels available for some expansion, as well as the parcel that the cemetery commission was gonna put the pet cemetery on.
Right.
That's available, and we all know, because it was in the paper, that the water department indicated that they might have some interest in it. I know that's probably not gonna happen, but, so I would say that some of the departments are aware of
Okay.
what else
Okay,
is
well,
available,
that's
just
good.
as a point.
Yeah, there's another lot further up Queen Anne Road that is town-owned, that, you know, people have approached me and asked about property that, you know, if you see a piece of land, let me know. I mean, that is a commercial area, zone commercial, so if somebody wanted to put like a small workshop or, you know, something like that, if the town was willing to.
I would say for today's meeting, I don't know how much further we can go here. I
No,
mean,
and we're
way
kind of
over.
right
So,
on time, yeah.
What should our priority be for the next meeting in terms of looking at this?
Well, our directive from our liaison was to look at owners unknown.
Mhm.
So I think,
I guess my question is does the liaison understand that within owners unknown, there are these multiple categories? Because some of these categories might or might not be, you know, as, the path forward might not be as easy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, depending upon whether they have maps or, you know, hard to go after something that doesn't have a map or a deed. So I'm just wondering
Well-
if they understand the complexities of just the category owners unknown, is all I'm asking.
Maybe if we just, I'm sorry to speak without,
go ahead.
but maybe if we just isolate on this list the ones that are of interest, and then we could give it to them, and then they can see, okay, well, this one, we don't have the deeds for that, we can't.
So their
that one's-
legal team could advise them.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
because I think we're just getting too into the minutia of
Yeah.
everything, but if we can, like, because we can look up and figure out, okay, well, this one's close to, like, I isolated some, you know, that were, you know, on Bell's Neck.
Mhm.
And we've talked about, you know, Bell's Neck with already, you know,
Mhm.
town owns property, you know. So things like that, or Deacon's Folly, and then maybe just highlight those and say, these are some of interest, but we don't have all the information, and that's not our job to determine that, but we think that these should be followed through.
So what if everybody sent some of their recommendations to you, Elaine,
Yeah,
and you compiled a list and then brought it to the next meeting?
Okay.
I mean, rather than, for all of us to peruse this is, it's just,
It's also hard too, because a lot of with the land, you can't just easily look it up unless you have a program like this.
Right.
I personally don't have that, and I wanna talk to Dave to see if can we all have this, because I can look up the ones that have the addresses, but I
Right.
can't pull up the parcels without going to the old maps and,
right.
so.
It's much easier to start with
If
the
there's a
map.
way that we can,
Yeah.
I don't know, is this something that Dave created?
No, it's public, we can access
Yeah.
it. He
Where
said
is
he's
it,
offered
where
it.
can you access it on the?
That's,
on the-
maybe he could tell us when he
on the
gets
town,
back.
like, is it on the town website? Because honestly, I feel that town of Harwich's mapping system is a little bit antiquated compared to other towns where their GIS mapping is very, you just
all right,
plug
let's,
in some
here's the
things.
man, let's.
So,
Yeah,
so that's what I'm just saying, if we could all be on the same page and looking at this, we can have a more educated.
right.
Dave, how would we all go about accessing these maps?
You install Google Earth on your machine at home.
Yeah.
And I send you a KMZ file. You double-click on the KMZ file and Google Earth will open.
Dave,
Okay.
is there any way that we could get them in hard copy?
The problem with it is, Elaine's got one, and it's, you really need to zoom in to see some of the findings. You're looking at the whole town, and parcels don't show up real well. Unless somebody's got a printer that can print out a, giant page,
Well, does the town have a printer that can print that out?
I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe we should, ask, John and the planning department.
The engineer I know
That
had a,
would be the department that would have access to that, if any of the departments do.
town
Because
engineer,
what I see, and I somewhat agree with you, but I have problems, with us as a committee doing this all individual because of our priorities, as opposed to our laying the map out on a table and our all standing around it in a meeting, looking at this and pointing to various properties and discussing them, and discussing what we feel priorities might be, and whether these are good properties to look into a little bit further. Now, the other issue that you brought up, which I think is a very good issue, is that to fully establish priorities, we need to have, a lot more information about this property, and you had commented that that's not basically our job. Well, if it's not our job, whose job is it?
Well, I'm just saying, we don't have the resources. I mean, we can go to look at for the deeds, and I can go look on the Barnstable Registry of Deeds and try and find out, but that, as Dave knows, it's like going in a rabbit hole, because you're going to different things. So I'm just saying that if we can just, like you said, maybe look at a map, hard copy,
Right.
or digitally, whichever way is, best for people, but to isolate some that we feel would be best to move forward with at this time. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not on here, as Dave mentioned, these are only just part of the owner's unknown type of things. So I'm just saying, in order to just not circle around and around, is if we can just isolate some to send to them, and then they can go through the research and find out if it's indeed something that they can move forward on.
Hey,
That's all I was saying.
Excuse me, send to who?
Send to, who was the people that isolated that they wanted us to isolate some property? Was it the Board of
It
Selectmen?
goes to the
Board
Board
of
of
Dave
Selectmen.
McCaskill, yeah.
Send it to the Board of
Well,
Selectmen.
it goes to Mr. McCaskill, and we are supposed to have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, the legal team that is also looking at these properties, and they're deciding too which ones they think should be prioritized. So we're supposed to have a joint meeting with all three, but I still don't have word when that's gonna be, so.
Elaine, Copeland and Page is reviewing these lists?
They have staff there that is supposedly going through the assessor's database and selecting properties that they think would be suitable to be taken.
And are they doing the title work?
Yes, that was my understanding, and apparently, when I said, do you realize how much time is involved in doing that? And he said, apparently, he has been reassured that there is sufficient staff to work on that. So we're not the only ones who are making a priority list. And we may agree on some of them, and we
Right.
may not on others. So, until that meeting takes place, but we should have something in hand to go to that meeting to show that we've, put something into it.
So that meeting's have not been scheduled yet, right?
Every time I ask, I'm told within the next couple weeks, but that's been going on for,
Well, we're not gonna
We
be
wanted to
ready.
probably
A
won't be
month.
after till
A month or
after
more.
the special town meeting.
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
You know, so I
Yeah.
think we have some time.
right.
Well, the special town meeting is a month from now.
Yeah.
So we have about a month.
Yeah.
So that if we're going to sit down and sort of jointly look at these properties,
Well, our next meeting would be October 15th.
right, so, yeah, we should plan to do it at that point. If not sooner.
So what is everyone? Dave?
I just want to raise an issue. I like your idea of everybody sitting around a big map
Right.
and going over it, but in today's health crisis and pandemic, that is definitely not the right way to be able to do
Right.
this. If we're going to do this, let me suggest that I send everybody the KMZ file for this.
Can you do that?
I'm willing to help anybody who doesn't know how to get Google Earth installed on their machine and working. I'm more than happy to help with that if they contact me. And I would just encourage you to just scroll around in there and, you've watched me do it over here. All I'm doing is clicking some boxes on the left to bring up different layers, different colors and so forth. And I think you'll find that there's patterns that you begin to see, when there's a lot of green, or you're, looking what the town already owns and so on and so forth. And you start checking them off, then, whoops, my machine went to sleep. Come on, wake up. And we all kind of create our own, things that we've spotted in that, so that we've done our homework ahead of time, so that when we come together at the next meeting, you might have seen something that I've missed. I have spent countless hours on them. I'm fascinated by maps. But there's information on this map that you will not get from any list if you talk to anybody here in Town Hall. Because this thing identifies parcels that the assessor doesn't even have tagged. In other words, there's no map and parcel on it. So if you look at a database, it's not in the database. That's the problem. The same thing with the assessors, or the tax lien list, is the fact it has to have a map and parcel ID in order to be taxed. So those that don't have map and parcel IDs, for whatever reason, don't show up. So, and my concern about the KP law, they may have the staff to do it. I'm not sure the town's got enough money to be paying a lawyer at $250 or $500 an hour to do a lot of this work. So, I think we got to be very selective in which
Yeah.
parcels we really go after.
Kathy?
I guess what I'm unsure of is exactly what is the Board of Selectmen's priority? In other words, so is the objective to get the owner's unknown off of the tax lien list so that taxes can start to be paid on the property?
One reason.
And is that by foreclosing on it, or taking it by eminent domain, and then reselling it? Or is the objective to have them put to some municipal use or other? So I guess I'm unsure of that, and I guess we would need to know that, or is that?
Well, I was at that meeting that when this first came up, when,
Yeah.
after Hall's path got, you
Yeah.
know, road bulldozed, and that was one of Michael Gaskell's concerns, that there was all this property out there that was either being taxed or not taxed, but it wasn't being collected for the town. That was one of his concerns. And then today he said, what, affordable housing and water protection were his two concerns, so.
Right, but, so, are they looking to take these owners unknown parcels and to do what with them? To make them taxable again? I mean, I guess, is that the objective, or not?
I think they were talking about
Alright.
eminent domain, so they were gonna take these parcels and try to get them via eminent domain.
But still, what's the end?
The impression that I've gotten, and I could be wrong about this, but it's sort of, it's either or. Let's either get this, either find the owner and get them to start paying taxes on this land, or let's think about what kind of public use it might have. Because just leaving, I mean, we've been living for decades with all of this untaxed land. And, you know, there's a potential downside to this, that when you start going after these properties, then sometimes it provokes people into developing land
Sure,
that
of
they
course,
might
that's
otherwise
what
have
my,
sat on for
yeah,
a
of
while.
course, yeah,
But, you know, that's a risk.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, Jim?
Yeah, Elaine, I guess it's my thought that it's part of the job of this committee to take a look at these parcels and make recommendations
Right.
as to whether or not they should be acquired and for what potential uses. Now, the Board of Selectmen, you know, based on our recommendation, may agree with us or not agree with us, and that may be determine what happens eventually to that parcel. But I think initially, you know, we should take a look at it and see what the potential uses of certain properties may be. And like I had mentioned before, some may be good for conservation, some may be good for town uses, recreation, whether police, fire, whatever. And some may be parcels that are prime development parcels that could generate decent revenue for the
Right,
town.
right.
So, yeah, those are just three potential uses. There may be others that this committee would think of. But I think in taking a look at the properties, we should also come up with a recommendation as to what the potential use might be.
Right.
That might, in the minds of the Board of Selectmen, sort of affect the priority in dealing with it. Because basically, before any action would have to be taken, title would have to be done on the property, appraisals
Right.
would have to be done on the property. And from my experience, you know, in doing this type of work for public agencies in Boston, that takes a lot of time and a lot of money.
So I think I'm just going from what we've done in the past, we've isolated, you know, properties, and we've had kind of a list of what we thought, you know, whether it was affordable housing or, you know, whether it was just for, recreation or water or whatever. And I think that if we can isolate that with a, you know, if we have a list of the different things and then isolate properties, we would think, and then submit them for,
Yeah.
because we've done that, but in the past, where we've each taken a couple of properties and we've driven by the area, we've done site visits, we've done all that, and then we've kind of compiled a thing and said, okay, this one's good for recreation, this one could be a good, second beach parking lot down at Earl Road Beach, or this one, actually was a little sliver of land that we actually put up for sale because it was not worth, you know, the abutters were gonna get it, you know what I mean? So it was, I think we've been doing that.
Yeah.
We just need to be able to isolate these properties, and I think if we use your maps, like, you know, right now I don't have the ability to look on, you know, parcel 115 K6-R, you know, without having to go to a big thing and look it up, but if I have the access to your map, which I'll ask you to send me, you know, that file, because I do have Google Earth on my computer, but that way we can just come to, you know, the next meeting or whenever, or send it to you and say, I've looked at this, these are the ones I think would be good for affordable housing, these are the ones I'd be, you know, and then as collectively decide which ones we want to send on to the Board of Selectmen, because we are just an advisory
Right.
committee.
Well, we could gather the list and then we have to prioritize it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, did we say though that we're only going under the owner's unknown tab or all these tabs?
I would stick with owners unknown.
Just
Let's
for
not
now,
overwhelm.
just for now.
It's
That was my
overwhelming as it is,
understanding, too.
Kathy.
Yeah.
I have to go, but
Okay.
I just wanted real quick. I mean, I did work on a draft application,
Okay.
so this is just a draft, obviously corrections were made today. I want everybody to look at it and comment, because Wayne and I are gonna have to turn this in
Right.
by Wednesday.
Yep.
And of
Okay.
course, the supporting documentation includes a map of the water recharge area, map of the trail, connective trails, all the deeds, the assessor's database, et cetera, right? So,
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so do you want us to just?
well, just take a look at it. If you have some huge, big changes or things you don't like,
But just to email you comments, is that?
yeah,
what you're
or
s-
Elaine.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have to, and this is not, I pulled a lot of this from some other, sources,
Uh-huh.
okay? I mean, the goals and objectives, those are correct, but, I didn't like rewrite everything.
Right.
I pulled from old applications and some stuff like that, so,
Okay.
And we don't want to get too much information in there. I mean, we
Right.
want to keep it simple, direct, concise, giving them we can always elaborate more when we do a presentation
Okay.
than what's actually in
So
the
this
application.
is the typical.
That's the application.
Length
Yes.
of an application.
yes, with
Okay.
supporting documentation.
Okay.
You will have to decide if you want to have more than 3 people at the September 27th meeting, because you'd have to call a meeting.
Right.
You'd have to post a meeting, so and that's like in 10 days, so.
I don't, well, he's the one that said a joint meeting.
He offered that. I don't think. we have
I
to.
don't think
have
we
to
all
all go.
need to.
No, I think if you have 3 people,
3, well, yeah,
2 or 3 is.
yeah, 2 or 3 is good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
I'm
Jen.
sorry, I got out
Yeah.
of my minute.
Could I just
Thank you,
raise
Ken.
one quick technical point? Is this application going to be kept confidential?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then I have no objection to the dollar amount being here, but we should all write on the top of it confidential.
Yeah,
Well, we know that,
We'll
but yeah,
have to do that.
all right.
Not to sound too much
plus
like
that
a lawyer.
amount is just, I just threw that in there.
Yeah,
If
well,
anybody
if
wants
it-
to,
if
we
it's
can put
if
whatever
it-
we want.
Yeah, if it's confidential, I don't care.
Yeah, because as we discussed, there are other ways to put that in there,
Right.
so.
But just write on the top of it confidential.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Kathy,
Thanks,
for all
Kathy.
that work. Okay, I
Okay.
think, anyone else have any other subject they'd like to bring up or discuss? Are we good? Then I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks.